All right, I think we are about ready to begin. I want to say good morning and good afternoon to everyone on the East Coast. We have another great turnout for our latest webinar in the NIMBL lecture series, Real Talk on Solution Manager 7.2, the business value you might be missing. A little bit about us. We are at NIMBL SAP Thought Leaders and SAP Technologists. Here are a list of some of the services that we offer. Obviously today we'll be talking about Solution Manager 7.2. And here are some of the customers that we work with. Before we get started, I do want to let everybody know about an event series that we've been running and continue to run. It's the SAP Traveling Campus. Essentially, the high level is that we come to your city and we do 2 sessions, which are technical deep dives. They're hands-on labs. Normally, we'll do them on SAP Cloud Platform, Analytics Cloud, Fiori Cloud, S4 HANA, on-prem and in the cloud. They are free to attend, and you see our upcoming schedule. We'll be in Lafayette, Indiana on Thursday, August 9th, and then just outside Seattle on Thursday, August 16th. If you would like more information on the Traveling Campus, just type your city into the chat box. In addition to that, we want to be able to answer as many questions as possible. So if you take a look at the lower left-hand corner of your screen, you will see the chat box. Feel free to type in any question, and our speakers will be able to answer that at the end of the presentation. And finally, everybody will be receiving a fully edited copy of the webinar. So if you miss a slide or have to step away for a second or two, don't worry. We will give you a fully edited copy at the end. So let's get right to it and get to our presenters. We have 3 unique and fantastic presenters today: Megan Rosser, Steve Christian, and Jeremy Swoboda. A little bit about each of them. Megan has over 10 years experience in solution manager as a functional and technical resource. Steve has over 18 years of hands-on functional and technical expertise. Jeremy is an experienced senior SAP solution manager, and Jeremy and Steve actually co-authored the SAP Press book, SAP Solution Manager Practical Guide. We have a lot to cover, so we want to get right to it. Before we start up, I just want to kind of get a lay of the land for our speakers. So we're going to start off with a couple poll questions. First poll question is, if you are not currently on SolMan 7.2, when are you scheduling your upgrade? Would that be in, again, if you're not on SolMan 7.2 already? Most of you may be. So 0 to 3 months, 3 to 6 months, 6 to 12 months, or more than 12 months. And we'll give everybody a couple seconds to finish that off. Looks like most of you are in between 0 and 6 months. All right, let's jump to the next poll question real quick. Do you currently have an implementation partner to deliver that upgrade? From the previous question, if you were looking, and we see a number of you, which is cool, are doing it yourself. Some are yes, some are no. We'll give people just a little bit more time to fill that out. All right, so as I mentioned, we have a lot of great information to cover. So at this point, I'm going to hand it over to Steve Christian to take it away. Go ahead, Steve.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jake. And thank you, everybody, for attending this webinar. Essentially, when you look around today, there's no questioning that we are in a digital economy. There's new competition that's coming up, new competitors to traditional businesses. You take a look at Uber, take a look at Lyft. I mean, they own no assets, but essentially are running these multi-million, billion-dollar companies and are truly challenging some of the traditional companies. Look at Amazon. They have Walmart looking at their store business and now, essentially trying to get into the online sales, ringing people's doorbells. So there's no questioning that we are in a digital economy. And there's a lot of change, a lot of new stuff coming up. People are looking to go into the cloud. There's big data. There's Internet of Things. And SAP has been essentially up to the challenge of the digital economy. So SAP has come up with the base platform, which is their Suite for HANA or S4 HANA. And S4 HANA, the platform, is capable of supporting all of these different technologies coming up. So be it blockchain, be it Internet of Things, artificial intelligence with SAP Leonardo, all of the cloud applications that they have from Fieldglass to SuccessFactors, Ariba, etc. And S4 has pre-engineered integrations to all of these cloud applications and is capable of truly supporting or helping customers essentially change their business models, look at truly going digital. But prior to looking at doing, say, an S4HANA implementation, NIMBL has been involved with helping customers upgrade Solution Manager 7.2. We have been part of the ramp-up for Solution Manager 7.2, and we have upgraded customers, all the way from SP3 and now all the way up to SP7 of Solution Manager 7.2. And what we saw is that Solution Manager 7.2 has been designed to help customers leverage all the innovations that are being made available through SAP HANA and some of the other cloud applications as well. And in upgrading customers and dealing with these different tools, we have realized that not every customer truly understands what these tools can do for them and how it can help them consume that SAP software faster. So we wanted to essentially have this webinar to be able to highlight a few details that are available within Solution Manager, some of the tools that would truly help you as a customer take that next step to get into the digital era. So today, it's very simple. We're done with the introductions, following which we have 4 tools that we're going to go through. Solution documentation for business process management. We'll be also talking about CHARM, or change request management. We have Megan on the call, and she will be walking you through some of the enhancements that customers take advantage of within CHARM. I will jump right back in with the test suite. Talk about why SAP recommends utilizing the test suite for your testing endeavors. And then Jeremy will round it out with business process monitoring. It's a brand new tool. I shouldn't say brand new. It was available in 7.1 as well. But the look and feel has changed, and how you can truly go after that business data to run your business better. He will highlight all of those different points. So going back to Solution Manager, it has been built for SAP. So it's capable of being your center of truth. From an SAP perspective, you're able to document all of your business processes. You're able to store your test scripts in there. You're able to do change impact analysis. You're able to do monitoring. All of that is built in within Solution Manager. So you have a whole bunch of tools that is been given to you as part of your maintenance to essentially drive both the run side as well as the build side of the house. So SAP Solution Manager 7.2 is the business delivery services platform from SAP for SAP customers. And 7.2 continues to be available again with your maintenance contract, but has made a stunning transformation. SAP has taken it to be a tool that is not only going to be leveraged by your IT team, but should be leveraged corporate-wide. So, you get the business in there, get them to take a look at your business processes, etc. And then it continues to stay ITIL certified. 15 processes in Solution Manager are certified for ITIL. Looking at all the different tools that are available in Solution Manager, you can easily break it out into 2 halves. You have the right half and the left half. The right half basically are the tool sets for your build and in support of the run as well. But mostly on the right, you will see all of the technical operations, business process operations, application incident management. Those are the tools that are there to help you with the run side of the house. So what's new within Solution Manager 7.2? As I said earlier, it's a tool that's been provided to you by SAP to essentially take you into the digital business era. So it is your digital business delivery platform, and it has now a number of enhancements to get you there. the first thing that we will be focusing on is the one process landscape for business and IT, and that's in solution documentation, where you can define your business processes, you can build process models within the BPMN 2.0 modeling tool that's been made available to you. SAP has also taken you into the agile development methodology and has given you a number of tools that embrace the agile development methodology. So that's where they have gone into. Like Megan will talk about this change cycles and the release management cycle, which will help you manage an agile project with minor and major releases. We'll talk about the test tool as well and how that opens up and makes it transparent for you to see what changes are being made and what you are testing. And then Solution Manager can be installed on a HANA database as well. The runtime license for it is free. It's a great way of getting your team, your internal team, to step into the world of HANA and learn how to run a HANA-based system. So without any delay, I'm going to jump into the solution documentation portion of it. For those customers that have utilized Solution Manager for documenting their business processes in 7.1, now when you go into 7.2, you're going to see a totally different look and feel to solution documentation. What you will see is that you are no longer limited by how many levels you can go down into. It's more columnar-based. You also have a BPMN 2.0 standards-based modeling tool that's available within Solution Manager itself, so you can define your process models. It makes it easier. A lot of customers utilize it prior to their rollouts if they want to explain what are the different business processes. There's nothing better than showing a visual to the company before rolling out those functionalities. And the biggest thing that you get with Solution Manager is all of these tools are integrated. So these business processes that you define, you can then link that up with Charm. So when you're making a change, you can link it to that specific node for the process or process step that you are modifying. Test management, when you make a change in Charm, you can run change impact analysis and you can create a test plan directly from the change impact analysis that you have created. Business process monitoring, the monitoring instruments are activated on the process models itself, so you can have a complete visual of your overall process and where there are potential failures or opportunities for improvement as well. The new architecture, obviously when you define business processes, it's going to have its versions. There's the productive golden version, that's your business processes in production, but then you are also modifying your business processes as part of day-to-day maintenance or as part of projects. And so now you're working within a solution and you have branches to your solution to mimic the versions of your business processes, the as-is and the to-be. SAP has also simplified the way solution documentation was done by introducing the reusability concept through libraries. So if you see at the bottom half of the screen right now, you have something that's showing you how you can basically have all the different libraries, the executable library, the development library. You define the T-codes programs in there. You're then able to leverage those to create process steps and then utilize the process steps to define your overall processes. The whole paradigm over here is define your artifacts once and utilize them in multiple locations. This reduces the footprint of your solution manager system as well and improves the quality of your change impact analysis as well, because now you're not defining T-codes multiple times. You're not creating TBOMS for each and every T-code multiple times as well. So customers ask me, it takes a lot of effort to define your business processes, right? So how far should we go when it comes to defining our business processes? Well, there are three separate steps that you can take, and obviously the effort involved for those three different steps is also different, right? If you're only interested in running, say, a change impact analysis to determine what's the impact based on the change, you're doing enhancement pack upgrade, say, for instance, all you've got to do is define your executables and programs. And you do that utilizing the library generation tools. So that's sufficient. You can run that analysis, and that's level 1 of documentation. Now, going to the other extreme, if you're interested in doing regression testing, so you want to be able to test the processes that, order to cash, procure to pay, etc., that are available within these different lines of business, you will then have to take, the step all the way to defining your business processes. But then there's also an intermediary step. If you're only interested in being able to store some of your artifacts in there, you can just take it to the process step level. So you have your T codes and programs, you define your process steps, you associate your T codes and programs to that process step. You're also able to store test scripts there. You're also able to store technical specs, functional specs, etc. All of your artifacts as part of your SDLC process can be stored in there. So there are different levels of documentation depending on what your end goal is. SAP has given you the library generation tool. I'm pretty sure a lot of you are aware of this, but you can utilize the information, usage information from your production environment and pre-populate your libraries, your executable and development library. The interface library, the config library, the process step library will all have to be manually populated once you have discovered the T codes and programs that are being utilized in your production environment. The best practices package import. This is a big tool that a lot of customers are utilizing prior to going to an S/4HANA project. So the best practices packages are available on the SAP Service Marketplace. You just have to go to rapid.sap.com, select a package for download, and you're able to import it into Solution Manager. These packages are a great jumpstart, say, for your S/4HANA implementation project. So you can see here, I have pulled in the S/4 1709 best practices, and with it, you get the business processes that are standard in an S/4HANA system. You get the configuration elements for configuring those business processes. You get test scripts. You get process diagrams. So it's a fund of knowledge that you can pull into your Solution Manager environment and take right into your requirements gathering sessions with the business when it comes to an S/4HANA implementation. So with that, I will hand it over to Megan, who will walk you through Charm and talk about some of the enhancements and possibilities with Charm. Megan?
Thank you, Steve. As we move on to discuss the change control management suite of tools within Solution Manager, we'll be focusing on how you can use this tool to better your change control practices, adding value by implementing SAP best practices out of the box, using workflows to move your changes across your landscape. Let's look at a typical day in the life of a software lifecycle. This slide represents the current struggles most organizations face, multiple projects, multiple timelines, struggling to balance and manage ABAP changes, Java changes, BW, HANA, non-SAP changes. A few of our clients have had basically no import strategy defined or schedules in place, meaning they were importing to production manually, ad hoc, even during the business day from STMS. So that leaves a lot of room for human error. There's no tracking or accountability, and honestly, this has caused production down situations during the business day, leading to a lot of angry managers. But occasionally also developers will step on each other's work, causing downgrades or inconsistencies further impacting production. So SAP has this desired scenario that they would like for you to have aligned project go live, synchronize your testing, maximizing the resources assigned, protecting production. So how do we achieve this nirvana? We would start by doing away with the old manual practices, tracking changes on a shared spreadsheet or via email or even verbally. By using Solution Manager and using this one central change management tool to cover all of your development systems, we can orchestrate the implementation and tracking of those changes in full compliance with ITIL. So within CHARM, SAP provides and utilizes a request for change workflow, as you see on this slide on the left-hand side. This workflow to start the request surrounding a logical unit of work by capturing all of the pertinent data and key players involved in the change. And from here, we can spawn what's called a change document, and it allows us to follow the process of the developer's work, providing one single location for the developer to create their transport, to capture any information regarding the change, to track any testing results. And also using this document itself, we use a workflow to actually move the change from dev into QA and then into prod, taking away that human chance for human error that I mentioned before with STMS. So when you're ready to move changes into production, SAP provides project cycles that have their own individualized import timelines, and each of those cycles are driven by a task list. So you can follow a planned release timeline, allowing for changes to be released from dev and move into QA and production following this joint deployment methodology. So this strategy is most useful when implementing, I think, a large project, when you have a defined start time and a defined testing time period, defined go-live dates. But obviously, this doesn't fit every customer's needs or ability. So CHARM has become flexible enough to manage those changes and imports as necessary. You can use what we call, or what is called, excuse me, a status-driven import. Also, we can do a selection import, basically as designed by you. So you determine what status a document needs to meet before it can be imported into production. And you also have the option with the selection import to choose from a box, a window of checkboxes, which imports need to go into production. So most of the clients that we support use an import methodology like this for their day-to-day maintenance, saving the release cycle for larger projects, as I mentioned before. Solution Manager also provides for a synchronized deployment strategy across your landscapes using what's called central CTS, and allows you to group your transports together and moving them across the systems. We group them in clusters. CCTS also provides extra flexibility by allowing you to move changes between those project cycles I mentioned, and also from change document to change document. And allows you to manage your in-flight transports when you are implementing CHARM. You know, how do you handle the hundreds of transports that exist currently, no matter what status they're in? Are they modifiable? Are they released? We've implemented this for several customers, and they've been incredibly happy. So CHARM is implemented, as I mentioned, out of the box following SAP best practices. The workflows are driven by actions and conditions that are customizable to further meet your needs and desires. The workflows also include transport functionality, such as transport of copies and preliminary import. Preliminary import allowing you to import to the changes to production outside of the scheduled import time in a hurry. So if you had a change that was determined, okay, Friday is our imports production day, but I need it to go right now, you have the ability to do that out of the box. And also out of the box come these pre-configured email notifications that can support on a status of a document. It can send an email notification to anyone that's listed as a partner on the document, be it an individual or a distribution list. You know, keeping those key players up to date with the state of the document and the state of the change. So as you should all be familiar with CTS, you know it's the central tool for managing, customizing, and workbench changes. CHARM adds a layer of ease to that import release process, supporting you with your ABAP changes, but also your non-ABAP changes, and also now supporting S4HANA, changes for S4HANA Cloud Platform, and so on. So all of this is achieved by working from the central location, which is your solution manager system, and using RFCs to your back-end systems, to your landscapes. And as I mentioned before, the changes are moved through your landscape together rather than individually driven by STMS, which is the common practice. This helps retain consistency across the systems, preventing any incorrect import orders, which would involve a downgrade, and that prevents also any redevelopment or system restores. We have seen all of those scenarios happen, which is when we get a phone call. So how does SAP incorporate their best practices to maintain consistency, to protect your production system? So they implement this using this scheduled import per system, per cycle, based on the release date and time of the transports involved. But they also provided you with this enhanced CTS, which is called CTS Plus for your non-ABAP changes. Also by utilizing the transport of copies. And the transport of copies helps you decrease the amount of transports that need to make it to production. So for example, in one case, we have a client that mentioned a developer could have upward of 40 transports between dev, QA, and prod for one change. And that's 40 transports that you need to make sure make it to production and make it in order so that you don't have a downgrade or an inconsistency. So to further protect your production, Charm has more consistency tools built right in called cross-system object locking, which prevents overwriting development on objects, and downgrade protection as well, where the system knows that an object has been maintained in 2 different transports, and the system will alert you if those are going to be imported out of order. We also have the retrofit tool, which helps you synchronize changes across your N+1 environments and support you with upgrades. So Solution Manager 7.2 has its own CRM 7.0 EHP3 instance installed, and it provides you with a familiar CRM web UI layout for Charm and its components. And each of the change documents tracks information such as who's involved in this change, from the requester to change advisory board, which project is this change related to, any mandatory dates that are involved, and categorization schemas where you can actually categorize the change via the drop-downs for organization purposes, but we can also create rules. So if a ERP system is your production system, we can configure it so that the change manager is assigned appropriately, and so on. Also in the farther down part of the screen where the text area, it's the details regarding the change. So the description of the change, the business case for the change. Also you can track any test instructions or test results. We also have the ability to create customized fields for this user interface, and we can still report on them. So if it's an external reference field, we want to track, say you're using an ITSM solution such as Jira or Cherwell or ServiceNow, and you want to track that information, we can use that field to do so. But we also have the ability to create interfaces between your ticketing system and Charm so that they work together. When you create a ticket in your ITSM system and you know it needs a change in your SAP system, we have the ability to create that interface using existing functionality to create a Charm document and have them pass data back and forth to keep everything aligned. Also, the ability to log into the systems directly from the document exists, so you don't have to have 5 different screens open. You just need to log into Charm and launch your change document, and everything's provided there for you. And finally, the benefit of the Charm document is this audit trail for each of the changes. So anyone who does anything to this document, whether they created it or put it in a different status or entered a text, all of that information is tracked by their username and date and time, and it's provided, and it's great for audit purposes. So in Solman 7.2, Charm introduced what's called this administration cockpit or administrator cockpit for its power users. It centralizes all of the tools that one needs to manage their Charm implementation. In prior versions of Solution Manager, all of the tools, well, most of the tools listed here were available, but in about 7 different locations within SPRO. So it would take a lot of time to configure cross-system object locking and then have to jump into creation of a task list and go to another SMSY or LMDB to look at my landscape and my RFCs. So now all of these items are located centrally in an administration cockpit. And we had a recent client mention that this admin cockpit, as he was traversing through it, was like Christmas morning. It was making his life so much easier. All of the information that he needed was at his fingertips. So as I mentioned, we can create cycles. We can review the landscapes, the systems, the RFCs. Is everything green? Everything good? We can actually track that cross-system object locking data. And also we can track particular transports. So if you know the transport number, you want to see the associated change document or the associated cycle, we have the ability to search that information. Also included now, we have this full text enterprise search functionality, which is supported by Trex, or if you're running a HANA database, we have the capability to just type in full text if you had a document you wanted to search on a particular word, and it would return all of the documents that pertain that word. So this tool is controlled by an authorization object, allowing you to restrict and provide certain access to certain areas to user groups. So you're able to provide information to change managers, but prevent them from having the ability to create cycles or manipulate the cross-system object lock data, so on and so forth. So Charm uses built-in reporting based on queries that are designed by you, the end users, customized to your specifications, and it gives you also the ability to export that data set via spreadsheet, and also gives you the option to review it in a graphical output. I love the fact that you can save commonly executed searches to your CRM homepage. And also you can share those searches. So if you have something that you want all the change managers to search on and you define the criteria, you have the ability to share that particular search out to specific users, or you can share it to the entire organization. Finally, using BW Analytics, Charm also provides dashboards for more reports, giving you a graphical representation of some of the change metrics. These dashboards are customizable and a great way to provide key data to the higher-ups. So as with all the tools in Solution Manager that work hand in hand, Charm can be incorporated with the next tool that Steve's going to talk about, which is Test Suite. So because we want to track those lovely changes that we've been making. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Steve.
Thank you, Megan. So that was Charm, right? Solution Manager 7.2, Charm has basically seen a unification of the screens. The administration functions all happen within the administration cockpit. If you look at everything within Charm now, you are working within a web interface, whereas in 7.1 you had to jump between, as Megan was mentioning, SCMA to SPRO to SMSY, and all of these different transactions had to be executed to be able to get to different places. One thing that I also wanted to highlight with Solution Manager 7.2 and Charm, you can now tie in your solution documentation as well. So you can bring change control around the business processes that you have documented. And as the Charm document progresses in its life cycle, it automatically moves the documentation from your, say, maintenance or your development branch and releases it up into production branch when the change, a physical change, has moved to your production environment as well. So SAP has really worked on Solution Manager to provide you with a fully integrated tool and a fully integrated solution. Moving on to the next topic, we're going to talk about the test suite. And this just ties into the whole building the transparency from requirements to development. here's a statement by Gartner Projections. By 2020, 60% of digital businesses will experience a major service failure because of their IT team's inability to manage digital risk. And that's what we are looking at, right? With all of these different technologies, all of these different platforms that you're going to be working on, you're going to have multiple teams. You need to unify how they're making changes in your environment. But most importantly, you also need to make sure that they have the infrastructure to be able to test all of these new innovations and changes that they're making in their environment. So the pain points that you are going to have is you're going to have heterogeneous landscapes to work within. Things like automated testing is supposed to help you out, but it is expensive. So SAP has moved you to utilizing what's known as the test suite. And why the test suite? Well, Solution Manager is why the test suite. If you can document your business processes in Solution Manager, you can store your T codes and programs in there. You can then also store your test scripts in there. So it's a central hub. You have your processes defined. You have your test scripts for those processes defined. They have given you change impact analysis tools, which will tell you when you make a change, which T codes and programs are going to be impacted and what you need to include in your testing as well. So that entire integrated framework is why SAP says the test suite is what you should be looking at when it comes to testing. So what is included in the test suite? Well, firstly, it's able to support SAP and non-SAP solutions, right? When you create manual test scripts, you can create them for SAP and non-SAP applications. When you're defining your business processes, the same thing. You can define SAP and non-SAP process steps in solution documentation. They have given you an automated test tool, which will help you with test automation. And it's a third generation test automation tool called CBTA, which means that it's easier to repair when your screens, et cetera, change. And a lot of test automation engineers will tell you that that's very important. The jump from second generation to third generation test automation tools was all about repairing your automated test scripts a whole lot faster. What you will see is within the test suite, you obviously have solution documentation where you have business processes documented. You can create and store manual and automated test scripts. You have a full test orchestration platform in the test plan management module where you can create test plans, break them out into packages that would be executed by a team or an individual tester. If it is an automated test package, you can schedule the execution of that test package. You can define sequences for the test scripts to be executed in. You can, you report on the execution results as well. So there is a full suite of analytics that's made available to you. There are two change impact analysis tools in Scope and Effort Analyzer and BPCA. Two separate tools, two separate purposes. One is a simulation, one is an actual analysis on any change being made in your environment, from a support pack upgrade all the way to an enhancement pack upgrade or a planned business function activation. With Solution Manager 7.2, SP6 onwards, you will even notice if you are already an S4HANA customer, but you're looking to jump up in version, so you're looking to go from 15.11 to 16.10 or 17.09 or 18.09 is going to be released in September, you can run that analysis to figure out what's going to be impacted when you do that upgrade as well. You will notice that SAP is trying to minimize the integrations that you had to build with the previous tool. So Solution Manager had to be connected to HPALM utilizing an adapter. That's been placed in debug mode. SAP Tau was a test automation tool built on the same component-based paradigm. That has been placed in debug mode. SAP is trying to bring you into utilizing the test suite because the biggest benefit that you have is that everything is now available within Solution Manager. When you upgrade Solution Manager, there is no need for you to upgrade 4 other tools just because it supports your overall test toolset. And what you will now see with Solution Manager 7.2 is that the user experience has changed. They have made some architectural changes which have taken away some of the limitations that you had with the test workbench. They have made everything, they have brought everything to the web screens. Your access, your initial access is through the Fiori Launchpad. So when you go into the Fiori Launchpad, into the Test Suite Work Center, all of your tiles are made accessible right from there. So you can do your test plan management, you can do change impact analysis, you can run your analysis, your analytics, all from one particular location. So between the Fiori UI5 screens and the ABAP WebDAM Pro screens for the application itself, now extending this tool to non-SAP teams has also become a reality. Obviously, you can do manual testing. Within Solution Manager, you can go and define a test template for your manual test scripts. As you can see there, I have a NIMBL test script template that's made available. You can store that manual test script right against either your process for regression or against your process step for, for unit testing, and make that available for overall testing. Automated test scripts, again, you can store them right against your business processes in solution documentation. The options that you have are CBTA, unlimited licenses available to you from an automation perspective. CBTA, however, is limited to only SAP platforms, but if your business process spans SAP and non-SAP applications, you can leverage third-party tools such as HPUFT or Worksoft Certify and essentially create those automated scripts utilizing those tools, but store them in Solution Manager. So Solution Manager can be your test orchestration tool, but you can have CBTA and third-party tools working hand in hand to essentially test your end-to-end processes. This limits the number of licenses that you're going to require, and the biggest change that you have with Solution Manager 7.2 is that the test data container within Solution Manager can be utilized by CBTA and UFT. So you can have one test data container to facilitate the execution of your test script, store the data for the next test script. And your end-to-end process can be a couple of CBTA scripts, a couple of UFT scripts, again, back into CBTA. So you can truly do SAP and non-SAP testing, automated testing, utilizing the tools that have been made available to you in Solution Manager 7.2. From a planning perspective, you can see I have some of the screenshots up here. It might be an eye chart for you, but there is a very smoother look and feel. The user experience of creating test plans, packages, etc., has been tremendously improved. I have seen customers essentially define a test plan once for their regression, their monthly regression, and then copy them over to basically create multiple test plans for the following months as well. You're able to define sequences of execution. You're able to assign testers. You're able to create packages with automated test scripts and have that run unmanned, overnight, and then come back and take a look at your regression testing results. So all of that is possible within Solution Manager 7.2. When it comes to manual testing, every tester will have access to a tester work list. When they go into that screen, they can see all the plans that involve them as a tester. They can choose a plan. It then gives them a list of all the scripts that they are responsible for execution. They can go ahead and click Run on a particular script. It'll bring up another screen with the instructions. Remember the template that we had uploaded? With the template, they'll have all the instructions that they need to follow during their test execution. They will be able to, the system automatically will launch the test system for them to perform their testing in. So you as a test manager define that this is going to be done in QA environment number 2 in client number 200, and that transaction that they are trying to test will be launched in that particular environment itself. So there's no guesswork over there. The system notifies them when they are up for testing. So all of these features that have been provided to you within the test suite truly help orchestrate testing across an enterprise, regardless of where your team is sitting in the world. Reporting and analytics, SAP has cleaned out the old BW cubes that you used to have in Solution Manager 7.1 and created a whole new set of BW cubes and a whole new suite of reports that are available for you to execute from a tracking of progress and status of your testing. I have had customers basically say that some of these reports in the test suite are comparable to what you get with an HP ALM. Obviously, you have the Business Process Change Analyzer, which is the change impact analysis tool. The idea for BPCA is to go after and tell you what is the impact of the change that you're making within your environment to help you define your test scope. An improvement with BPCA is the integration with the test scope optimization that you can do. So if there are objects that are impacted and your result tells you that there are 10 transactions that are impacted, using TSO, you might be able to come down to 3 transactions because the impacted objects overlap between all of these different transactions. So SAP has given you that test scope optimization tool, which really works well in terms of narrowing down your test scope. Another thing that you will notice is a lot of customers have done CIA, change impact analysis. The results, the quality of the results are based on the quality of the TBOMS that you create. And there are 3 different types of TBOMS. There's the dynamic, which is the most accurate type of TBOM. There's the static, which is now not recommended for creation, but there's a semi-dynamic TBOM, which does incorporate usage on the workload analysis data that you get from production. With 7.2, now you can utilize what's known as SCMON, or ABAP call monitor data, for creation of the semi-dynamic TBOMs. SCMON is an improvement over UPL because it actually is able to do relational analysis. So from one transaction, what else was called when it creates a particular TBOM. So it makes TBOMs that are more relevant to your usage within your production environment. So a lot of customers utilize BPCA and SEA to determine their regression test scope. I would not recommend that you use it for every transport within your organization, but take a collection of all the transports that are going on a release and run that analysis, and it will give you your regression test scope. On larger initiatives such as enhancement pack upgrades, Suite on HANA migrations, or S4HANA conversions, you can run the similar analysis, marry it up with the usage of your particular T codes and programs, and you can really narrow down exactly what needs to be included on your test scope. So to bring the 3 topics together, right, we have seen the solution documentation, charm, and test management being leveraged together on S4HANA projects. So one of the questions that I saw in the chat box is, what does the best practices bring to the table? Well, essentially what it does is you're able to bring the processes from SAP or S4HANA into Solution Manager. Now when you go into the requirements gathering with the business, you have a pictorial representation of the business processes capable within S4. Otherwise, identifying those processes were hard if you just take a simplification list or whatever it is, right? So you're able to jump right into that. You're able to identify your fit gaps. Once you have identified your gaps, you can use charm to build and manage the changes that you're making within that S4HANA system. And then charm will move those transports all the way through to production. The best practice packages also gives you configuration elements. So if you want to know how to configure a particular scenario in S4, the configuration objects are available in the best practice package as well. And then test management or test suite is essentially able to test on all SAP platforms, and that includes S4HANA systems as well as Suite on HANA or traditional ECC systems as well. So these 3 tools are what we see being utilized the most for S4HANA implementations. So with that, I will hand it over now to Jeremy to talk through business process monitoring.
Thank you, Steve. Good afternoon, everyone. So quickly, I would like to discuss business process monitoring and how we have seen clients use it to bring some real business value. Right? Business process monitoring was a part of Solman 7.1, but definitely not used as much as a lot of the other tools, primarily because it was kind of difficult to activate. A lot of the core functionality of it relied on old CCMS infrastructure, depending on which release of 7.1 you were on. So we definitely didn't see a whole lot of people implementing it. But with 7.2, SAP has significantly enhanced it and simplified its activation. So now a tool that can really be activated and provide that real business value that the business truly is looking for, right? Primarily by providing clarity between both the technical and the business side of the house, right? Previously, all of the monitoring tools that get activated in Solman are all very technical. How many short dumps were, happened today? How many jobs failed today, right? Specific job failures, stuff like that. Things the business kind of cares about but don't directly impact the business, not things you're going to alert them directly on. That's where business process monitoring comes in. Business process monitoring allows you to monitor the actual business side of the house, actual business-related metrics, right? How many service orders were created a day? How many clients were billed today? And there's a whole slew of different metrics that are business-oriented, that have nothing from a technical nature at all. So now you can generate your solution documentation, right? That's the first step. BPMon has been integrated with solution documentation in 7.2, like Steve mentioned earlier. So once you've got your business process mapped out and developed, you've created your diagram like you see in that screen there. You can now activate business-related KPIs and metrics against each step of a business process directly in solution documentation. Then activate those metrics, and now you have a very nice SAP UI5-based dashboard, as you see in that screenshot there, that allows you to monitor the entire business process from end to end. Any business-related KPI can be applied to each step in a business process, but also technical ones. So bridging that gap from the technical side of the house to the business side of the house, you can now apply technical-related metrics that apply specifically to that one business process. So let's say there's a background job that runs for a specific step of business process that must run in order for a client to be billed, right? Well, now you could add that one job to that one step of the business process and have your functional teams monitor that business process UI for any kind of failure, and then generate email alerts to either the technical or the functional teams. But even more than that, right? The technical side, you can monitor interfaces between systems. So if you have business-related data going from a SAP system to a non-SAP third-party system, you can monitor that as well. So if you have that data that fails to go through, now send me an alert to the business or the technical side of the house, right? So this tool really does encompass your entire business process, both functionally and technically speaking. Also, what's great in 7.2, SAP has a new online catalog that they are updating on a regular basis. If you go to that screenshot, that URL there, you can also just Google it. It's pretty easy to find. Just Google Business Process Monitoring Alert Catalog. You can go there and find all of the business-related KPIs and see which ones apply to your business. They're all very product-specific and business-specific. So whether it's MM, SD, right, all the different areas of a business can be monitored, and they're very detailed and specific to each area. So if you go there and take a look, you can see what kind of value you can bring by activating that tool for your business. What kind of effort? Really, the effort is, it's not as extensive as what it was in 7.1. There is some effort there. We have to install notes. You have to get the solution documentation mapped out, and then you have to get the metrics determined, right, which ones are going to apply to that business process, and then get them activated. Why implement business process monitoring? one of the key ones I already mentioned is transparency, right? When you're developing this tool, going through all the business processes and then activating metrics, the technical and the functional teams have to work together pretty tightly to fully understand the business process from end to end. So from a UI, from a technical perspective of monitoring, you gain clarity there and transparency, but also the teams work together, and the basis side of the house really gets to learn the business process and how the systems are used by that business process so they can better support the systems and the business. Also providing performance and consistency. So when you're monitoring all of these business processes, you get all this additional data on how the systems are being used. The basis team now has additional data they can use to analyze and see how background jobs are running, performance of transactions. Now they can provide performance improvements and recommendations and be proactive in supporting the business and adding that additional value, showing the business how they can increase the response time on billing certain clients or whatever it happens to be to add more value and make the business run more efficiently. Some screenshots of some actual business value that has been attained by a customer that we did this with. They had a 10-step business process for billing clients. They had about 8 different people monitoring every day. They eliminated the overhead of having those functional people monitoring each step by implementing business process monitoring and monitoring those steps automatically. And now those functional people can spend their time on improving the business process versus just monitoring it every day. So we're reducing that overhead, allowing you to monitor each step of business process from end to end, both functionally and technically. Before, they're only looking at the functional perspective. Now the basis team can monitor it from a technical perspective as well. Adding that transparency, right now the basis team really understands how the business process is being executed across all of the different systems. Especially in this case, there's a third-party client enrollment software out there that they had no way of monitoring. Business process monitoring was able to do that and add additional metrics that they didn't even have in the past. Also historical KPIs, right? If you're monitoring the business, this is an example of a certain number of sales documents created per day. Now they can look in the historical value and see how many are being generated every day. And now management, now functional teams can look at this data historically over time and have even more tools. So definitely, just to wrap it up real quick, definitely a tool I'd recommend you looking into. Not very many people have done it, but the few people we have done it for, they are very happy with what they're getting out of it, and they plan on implementing it further and further. So definitely something I recommend you looking into to get some real business value out of Soulman instead of just the technical IT team. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thanks so much, guys. So we just want to run a couple more poll questions before we get to the questions. I'm going to ask actually that our speakers stick around just for a couple minutes past the hour so we can get those questions if that's okay. So our first question, we covered a lot of this. So we just like to know which functionality of 7.2 that you're currently not using interests you the most. You can answer multiple on there. So just click whichever, if it's BPM, change control management, solution documentation, test suite, change impact analysis. Give people a couple seconds on that. We have a lot of people looking at BPM and test suite. All right. Couple more seconds. Still got some coming in. Great. And like I said, we covered a lot of information. I really appreciate all the speakers being able to give us the overview in that amount of time. And on that, if you'd like to set up a pre-sales call for a deeper dive, as I mentioned, we covered a lot of information. So people filling in right now. All right. And we are now going to, a couple more people still filling it in, jump to the questions. So the first question, Yogesh asks, is there any automated way to generate the process documentation which reflect business process used in production?
No. So, and this question is quite frequently asked, is there an easy button to documenting your business processes? The only thing available in Solution Manager 7.2 is the library generation tool, which will pull in the T-codes and programs that are utilized in your production environment, but it will store it within the executable and development library utilizing SAP's ACH structure. When I say ACH, I mean Application Component Hierarchy Structure.
Great. Scott asks, I believe this question is for Megan, can you please expand on the interface with ITSM?
Actually, why don't I take that one as well? So essentially, regardless of what ITSM system you utilize, if it's a third-party ITSM system like Jira, ServiceNow, or Sharewell, etc., you want to be able to see a complete holistic view of your SDLC process. So there was an incident, or there was a problem, or there was a service request, and it needed a change made in my SAP landscape. It's possible to interface that incident or problem or service request into Charm and create a change document. There's a two-way link between the two documents. As the statuses change on the incident, we can have the statuses change in Charm. As Charm moves the transports between dev, QA, and production, we can send updates into the incident. From a communications perspective, we are able to send in, the transport numbers or anything else that you might require, like a portion of the log, etc., from an audit perspective can be stored in the ITSM tool if that is your master from the perspective of any requests being made within your organization, requests for change being made in your organization. So and the technology over there is pretty simple. We simply use the REST APIs and build the communication between the two systems, a third-party ITSM and Solution Manager.
Okay, great. Fabiola asks, how difficult is it to set up Charm? Are there common challenges, or what are the common challenges? Excuse me.
Okay, sure. The difficulty is about, I'd say, medium. There's a guided procedure that does walk you through the processes. If you want to just deliver it vanilla Charm as the workflows are designed, that's fairly simple. It's when we get into the customizing of the screens, when we get customizing of the statuses and the workflows, the more you want to be customized, the harder it gets. But standard out-of-the-box Charm is not too difficult. There, like I mentioned, the guided procedure that walks you through the process is fairly intuitive.
Cool. And Scott had a follow-up question.
Add to that.
All right, please. Sorry. No, go ahead.
And if I may add to that as well, going into a Charm project, you definitely want to have, everything in place. You want to understand what your current change management requirements are, because when we define the workflows, we're going to try to mimic, what your requirements are. We will bring SAP best practices to you, but we also want to be able to cater to your audit requirements. You need to have that point person defined, the change manager, the person that's going to be responsible for orchestrating all the changes being moved into production. That role needs to be identified in advance as well, because they will be the one that will be receiving training on the administration of Charm and things like that. And then one final note is, so we talked about the change process. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. There's somebody cutting the grass up.
Then we'll end with the last two questions. Scott's follow-up question was, does Charm support help desk problems or support requests? Actually, I don't think that's one or the other. Does it do either of those?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what that means. What he means by support help desk problem reports or support requests.
Does Charm support help desk problem reports or support requests?
So it's more of an ITSM, I think, functionality rather than a Charm using such a help desk ticketing system. for incidents and then problems and then support requests, we can not handle directly within CHARM, but ITSM, which is another functionality for change control in Solution Manager. And from ITSM tickets, if it requires an SAP change, you can then spawn a CHARM document from an ITSM instance. So they do work hand in hand. So I think Scott would more be interested in ITSM.
Great, and we'll wrap it up with Barry's question. What partner testing suites are supported using Worksoft as an example?
Yes, I mean, so there is a list of partners. Well, so SAP will tell you that the test orchestration tool needs to be Solution Manager. When you talk about partner suites, you're talking about mostly their automation tools that you would be leveraging, like for HP, you would be going with, or now Micro Focus, you would be going with UFT, etc. for test automation. Worksoft Certify again for your test automation portion of it. There are some other tools from Tricentis, etc. that you are also able to integrate into Solution Manager. But essentially, test planning, execution, etc. would all be driven, and reporting would all be driven from Solution Manager itself.
All right, great. So that wraps up the questions. I want to say thank you so much to everybody who joined us. Again, another great turnout, and a special thank you to Steve, Megan, and Jeremy for an info-filled webinar. I hope everybody enjoyed it. You'll notice on the way out there's a comment box. Feel free to fill it out. We'd love to know what you thought of the presentation, what you thought we should cover in future webinars, and just your overall view of how you think the presentation went, because it really helps us moving forward. As I had mentioned before as well, everybody will be receiving a fully edited copy. So again, if you missed a spot, don't worry about it. We will send you a fully edited video. And on that, I want to say once again, thank you to everybody who joined us, and thanks so much to the presenters. Everybody, have a great week.